Good morning, everybody. Rob here in Bakersfield, California on the Sportster 72. And welcome to this week's Throwback Thursday. This week's story is about TGI Fridays down in Mission Valley. And what we used to refer to it as Rape Central, because of all the sexual assaults and rape cases that came out of that place when it opened up. Now, this isn't a slam against TGI Fridays. It's not their fault, the clientele that they attracted. But it is a fact that once they opened up down there on the south side of Interstate 8, near 163 in Mission Valley area, we started getting all kinds of sexual assault and rape cases coming out of there at closing time on Fridays and Saturdays. This particular one, I was working up in Sierra Mesa on my regular beat, and I get a radio call to go down to the CHP office substation on the south side of Interstate 8, which is not my beat, but the officer whose beat it was busy doing something else. I believe he was doing a DUI arrest, which takes several hours to do. So I get a call to go meet a CHP officer at their substation. I think it's on Camino del Rio, something or other, south side of Interstate 8, to take a rape case. I didn't get any further information than that. So I left my beat and headed on down there, and I go over and I meet up with this officer standing out in front of the CHP office. And he tells me he's got this girl inside that's all distraught and crying, and the only thing he can get out of her is that she got raped. So I go inside to talk to her and, try and find out what's going on and take a report. You can tell she is really traumatized, really bad. Doesn't want to have anything to do with men at this particular time. I can't get her to talk. She just cowers away from me. I get down on my knees on her level, try to talk really nice, tell her I'm there to help her. Nothing worked. So I step back outside and I call my dispatch and ask to have a female officer come to take the report, see if that will work. Maybe she'd have better chances of getting information out of her. Well, the dispatch sergeant, supervisor, gets on there and he starts giving me a ration of crap, telling me I've got to take the report. They don't have anybody else available. And I'm telling him, well, she won't talk to me because she's traumatized. He thinks I'm just BS and I want to get out of taking the report. Because doing a report like that takes a long time. You got to get all the information, you got to take her to the hospital, you got to stand by while the doctors do their inspection and collect all the evidence for the rape kit, and then you got to stand by and wait for a crisis intervention person to come talk to her and take her home, and if they don't come, then you got to take her home, and then you got to go put all the evidence in the downtown and do up your reports and everything, turn that into the detectives and sex crimes, and it can take you about 6 hours to do something like that. So he was thinking I just wanted to get out of the job. But that wasn't it at all. Like I was telling him, she won't talk to me because she's traumatized. So he says, okay, fine. He's going to send a female officer there, but I better be telling the truth because if he finds out differently, he's going to write me up. Well, a female officer finally shows up to take the report. She goes in to talk to her. And, by now we thought maybe she ought to calm down a little bit, but no, she's still traumatized, and even this female officer has trouble getting any information out of her. But she's going to take the report and take her to the hospital. So I'm getting ready to clear the call and go back to my beat. As I'm doing that, the female officer comes on the radio and says, well, she did get enough information out of her to find out that she had been at TGI Fridays, and when she came out after closing time, her car was disabled, and these two nice guys parked next to her car and pickup truck offered her a ride home. Her being a little bit inebriated, she gladly accepted, got in the truck between the two of them, but instead of taking her home, they took her out back behind Fashion Valley Shopping Center, which is a big shopping complex along Interstate 8 down there. that is on the south side of the San Diego River. Well, they took her out back behind there, behind the parking lot, went out on a dirt road out to the riverbank out there somewhere, and proceeded to rape her. And they spent an hour or so out there drinking and smoking and raping her, taking turns raping her. And then when they were all done, they just drove off and left her out there in the dark. Well, she had got enough clothes and put on clothes, and came back across the parking lot, and from the parking lot across Interstate 8 she could see the CHP substation. So somehow she managed to get across both the east and westbound side of Interstate 8, across those fences and the embankments and up the hill and over the fence and to the CHP substation to get help. Now, I don't know how she got the officer. I don't know if he was already there or if there was a button there or something they pushed for help or something. I don't know. But anyways, that's where I come into the picture. I get called to go meet up there, right? So we got two things there. We got her car sitting at TGI Fridays parking lot. So they sent another officer down there to check out the vehicle. And I get assigned to go over behind Fashion Valley and search the riverbed area for the road going back in there and see what evidence I can find. Well, I get over there, there's like 3 or 4 different little dirt roads heading back in there, so I'm checking each one, looking for fresh tire tracks and footprints coming out. I find the one that I think is the right one because it has the freshest tire tracks that look like pickup truck tracks. And I find barefoot footprints that look like a female's footprints. So I go back in there about 50 feet, being really careful, walking along the edges not to disturb any evidence. And sure enough, I find the crime scene. I find the blanket, find her panties, find her shoes, find the beer bottles, find cigarette butts. So I come back out, and I'm calling for my sergeant, my patrol sergeant, because I have to get permission from him to call out the mobile crime scene investigation unit. Because this crime scene is just way too big for me to process with all the evidence that's left behind there. Well, I can't get a hold of my sergeant. He's not responding anywhere, anything. Come to find out later on, according to some of the other guys on the squad, he was over banging his girlfriend. I don't know if that's true or not. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, though. But anyways, we couldn't find him. Dispatch couldn't graze him on the radio. So the dispatch sergeant, he can't okay it, so he gets the sergeant, the patrol sergeant from Western Division to come over and meet with me in Fashion Valley. I show the Western Division patrol sergeant what I found, what's going on. He agrees with me that we need to call out the mobile crime scene investigation unit. So we do. Now I have to sit there and wait for them to arrive to turn over the crime scene to them because of chain of evidence laws and so forth for court. You know, I can't just leave. Otherwise, some defense attorney would say that somebody, you know, messed with the evidence. They try to do that anyways, you know. So, mobile crime scene investigation unit shows up. They get busy doing their thing. I'll get ready to leave. And as I'm leaving, I see the security guard over there for the private security guard for the shopping center over there, sitting there looking and watching over. So I go over to ask him if he's seen anything and tell him what's going on. Well, sure enough, he had seen the 2 guys and the girl in the pickup truck go driving out that road. And just by coincidence, or well, not really coincidence, but because he's trained to do so, he wrote down their description and the license number in his little notepad. So I get all his information and the information that he wrote down in his notepad, go back over to the Western Division sergeant who's still there with the crime scene investigation unit, tell them what I found out. He takes that information and I go back, write up my report. So anyways, I go back, I finally get released and go back to my beat, start catching all my calls that are backed up. Because all this time, I still got radio calls coming out on my beat, but none of the other officers in my squad are taking them. They're all too busy screwing off. and I got radio calls backed up. I end up having to put in overtime that morning. I finally get in. My sergeant's already gone home. I have to get another sergeant for the next watch to sign my reports and sign my overtime slip authorization. He sends me to the lieutenant to have it okayed. The lieutenant's all bitched off about me putting in overtime and coming back in late. And everybody's pissed off at me because I didn't get all my radio calls handled. Because I was down in another area off my beat working a crime report that should have been done by somebody else. Like I kept telling them, I got called down there by dispatch. I didn't volunteer. You know, it's not my fault. Not my fault they couldn't find my sergeant. Not my fault I had to sit out there for hours waiting for the crime scene investigation unit to show up. But anyways, everybody was pissed off at me. Well, about a couple weeks later, I get called back into the lieutenant's office to talk about this case. And I figure, oh shit, I'm going to get chewed out some more because I didn't handle all my radio calls on my beat, and because I called the sergeant in from Western Division, because I called in the crime scene investigation unit, didn't do it myself, blah, 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 right? Well, I get in there, come to find out, he has a written commendation for me that was put through by the supervisor of the crime scene investigation unit, the supervisor of the sex crimes department downtown, and was signed by the Western Division sergeant, and now it needed to be signed by my command and me so it could be put in my jacket, my official jacket for the department. And apparently what had happened is that you know, the following morning when the sex crimes detectives got all that information, and they got that information I got from the security guard, they ran the license number, got the name of the registered owner, ran him through DMV, got a picture of his driver's license, did up a photo lineup, took that over to the victim, she ID'd him, picked him out of the lineup. They went over and got a arrest warrant, went over and arrested him, brought him in, he confessed to the whole thing, gave up who his partner was, they went over, arrested him, he confessed to the whole thing, and they had a slam dunk case in a matter of hours. So they were all just pleased as hell. The only problem was my lieutenant still was pissed off because he wanted to know where my sergeant was. I told him I had no idea where my sergeant was because they had tried to call him. I tried to call him. He'd never answer up. Well, my sergeant was claiming that I never tried to call him on the radio, and he was refusing to sign the commendation. So I told the lieutenant, look, I'm not lying. You don't believe me? You contact the sergeant down at dispatch, and he'll tell you. And you contact the sergeant over in Western Division, and they'll tell you. He says, okay, fine. He has me go ahead and sign it even without my sergeant's signature on it. And I head out to patrol. Well, needless to say, my sergeant got chewed out because the lieutenant found out that he was bullshitting him and lying. So my sergeant was pissed off at me. And I've told you guys about this sergeant before. Him and I had a lot of conflicts at the time that I was having to work under him. And this is just one of the little instances that he and I had a problem. And I think you can understand why. Anyways, the sexual assaults and rape cases coming out of TGI Fridays down there got to be so regular on Fridays and Saturday nights that the department assigned a unit with a male and a female officer to go down there at closing time and sit in the parking lot and watch for females being assaulted or kidnapped or whatever, you know. During the time that the department had them assigned there to the parking lot, sexual assault cases and rape cases coming out of that place dropped to zero. Now, when we had shift change, which was a couple of months later, they pulled that unit out of there. And within a matter of weeks, the sex assault crimes went right back up again. But the department didn't reassign a patrol car back down there because they were getting complaints from the patrons. They were claiming that the reason we had a patrol car parked there at closing time was to arrest drunk drivers. Well, that's not it at all. But there you see, that gives you an example of how the public can misconceive what the police department is trying to do. They think we're sitting down there trying to catch drunk drivers coming out of the parking lot, when what we're really doing is sitting there trying to prevent sexual assaults, kidnappings, and rape. But we can't go tell them that because of, you know, public relations, the TGI Fridays and the public and everything. So that's just one of the many, many stories I've got that came out of that place. There are others. Some of them really gross, and I'm not going to tell you about them. And I really feel bad for all those women, all those girls. Because I know without professional psychological help and counseling after that, they're going to be screwed up for the rest of their lives in any kind of relationship they have with males. And that's too bad. You take somebody that could have had a wonderful life, do that to them, and then they're psychologically screwed up for the rest of their lives. So that needs to be something you guys think about. You know, you out there with some girl, she's a little bit intoxicated, you think, oh, well, let's just take her home and have sex. She may be too intoxicated to say no. That's not the way you should be doing it. If you have any feelings for her. And it should be a warning to you girls. Don't get so intoxicated that you don't know what's going on. If you come out of a place and your car is disabled, don't go accepting rides from strangers or from some guy that's been feeding you drinks all night long. Go back inside someplace safe and call a friend or a relative or a taxi or something. Alright, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to quit preaching at everybody. Probably doesn't do any good anyways. I hope it does. It's the only thing I can get out of it. Because I know there wasn't nothing I could do for her. Other than, I did make sure those two guys got arrested and locked up. Because of my investigation. And my determination. And the extra work I put in. Because most cops wouldn't have bothered doing that. They would have just gone down there, drove along the parking lot, looked at the dirt roads and said, oh, I can't find nothing. And they would have gone on back to their beat. Knowing that they got a half a dozen radio calls sitting there waiting for them. Okay, well, almost at work. Hope you guys enjoyed my story. If you do, hit the like button, give me some comments. Be kind to your women, and women be smart. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Subscribe and come back next week for another episode of Throwback Thursday. See y'all later. Bye-bye. Sayonara. Adios. Hasta la vista. I'll be back. Whatever. Bye-bye. Gotta get ready to do this turn here. It says 15 miles an hour. I better slow down. Get right between the two concrete things there. Oh yeah, lean that baby. And hit the throttle. Okay. Alright, now I'm really going. I'm going. I'm eastbound to down, loaded up and trucking. He don't know what the hell he's doing now. Alright. No, that's not going to be my entry to Mr. Ozzy Adventures singing contest. No way would I do that.